This is about, well, a new scenario I'm going to be starting on YouTube as of tomorrow. This scenario we're going to be starting off with YouTube is going to be a scenario with the best AFL teams of all time playing against each other. There has been arguments in the households over which team was better, between whether it was the Brisbane Lions of the early 2000s, or is it the Hawthorn side of the mid-2010s, or is it the Hawthorn side of the 80s, or is it the Gold Coast Suns, or is it the Gold Coast Suns right now with Matty Rowell and Isaac Rankin? The teams that are going to be confirmed for this series. Got it. Representing Adelaide in this scenario is the 1997 and 1998 teams, coached by the one and only Malcolm Blight. You got there's the Brisbane Lions of the early 2000s, coached by Lee Matthews, plus some 2020 players added to the team like Lachie Neale, Hugh McCluggage, Jared Berry, Eric Hipwood and company. Carlton of 1995. Hello, Nick D. Collingwood 246. I hope you enjoyed today's stream. And anyway, back to the thingy. It's the Carlton side of 1995, coached by David Parkin. Representing Collingwood is the combination of the 1990 and 2010 teams, plus some ones who were unlucky to win the premiership, like Nathan Buckley. He was very unlucky to miss out on the premiership in his Collingwood side lost in 2002 to the Brisbane Lions, and they're going to be coached by Mick Moldhouse. I mean, wait a minute, they're going to be coached by John McHale, one of the best coaches of all time. Essendon, you got the 2000 side, and they are going to be coached by the one and only Kevin Sheedy. And thank you for the compliment to Nick D. Collingwood 246. For Fremantle, we've got the 2013 team representing him, and they're going to be coached by Ross Lyon. He was the best Fremantle. He's the best Fremantle Dockers coach. Geelong. There is your side between 1989 and 2011. Obviously, they're going to be coached by Mark Thompson. He was a coach in 2009. Gold Coast. Well, you got today's team, plus some of their players they missed out on. Right, plus some of their players who have left the Suns, like Gary Ablett, Tom Lynch, Charlie Dixon, and a few others. GWS got their current team, plus some players who had left the club. Like one of their players had never left. Hawthorn. And Nick D. Collingwood 246. Yes, I am starting it tomorrow. Hawthorn, you got their best team from the 80s on to 2015. We got, well, this forward line of Lance Franklin, Jared Ruffin, and Jason Dunstall is going to be coming true. And don't forget about Derby Brereton. We also got Gary Ayres on the team, along with Shane Crawford. Got some greats in that Hawthorn team. I reckon they'll be the favourites to win it all. Melbourne. Got their current side, plus some forwards who can, plus some players who can actually help them, like Adam Ose, David Neitz, Alajakovic. To the younger viewers out there, if anyone doesn't know who Alan Jakovic is, well, he played for Melbourne back in the early 90s. Kicked 201 goals in 47 games for the club. And he had a brief stint at the Bulldogs in 1996. Played just 7 games and kicked 7 goals before retiring. After the Bulldogs failed to offer him a new contract. North Melbourne, you got their 1999 team. They're obviously their coach is going to be Dennis Pagan. Hawthorn, they're going to be coached by Alistair Clarkson. Gold Coast, they're going to be led by Stewie Jew. GWS, they're going to be led by Leon Cameron. Hawthorn, their coach will be Alistair Clarkson. Melbourne, they'll be led by Norm Smith. I mean, hang on a minute, they're going to be led by Rob Barassi, with the help from Norm Smith. North Melbourne. And to Nick Dean, Collingwood 246. Well, for the Collingwood players on the team, got Alan Richardson, Michael Christian, Dennis Banks, Shane Maud, Craig Kelly, Michael Gafer. Well, most of them are playing it. Got the 1990 players on the team, plus some 2010 guys like Dave Swan, Luke Ball, Darren Jolly, Scott Pendlebury, Travis Cloak, Alan Didak, Leon Davis, Dave Beams before he had the mental health problems, still side bottom. He was only young back in 2010. Along with Nathan Buckley. Buckley, he retired 3 years earlier. And they also got Gavin Brown on the team. He was one of their best back in 1990. We also got Darren Mullane. Sadly for Darren Mullane, he wasn't around after 1991. He had passed away in that car accident. He was hit by a truck at the age of 26. It was a very sad day for Collingwood fans. His legacy will live on forever at the club. Nathan Buckley, he was a champion at Collingwood. He won the Brownlow in 2003. He won the Rising Star when he was at the Bears. And he was a Collingwood captain for nearly 10 years, between 1999 and 2007. He helped with the Collingwood resurrection under Moldhouse, when they went from being one of the worst teams in 1999 under Tony Shaw, who was a legend at the club as a player. But as a coach, well, he just didn't have the roster around him. So is it his fault with the Collingwood losses in the 1999 season? He just didn't have most of the players around him. He helped build the roster, started building up the roster. Moldhouse ended up getting the results at the club. And now they're in their 9th year under Buckley. Anyway, back to North Melbourne. Their coach will be Dennis Pagan. Then you got Port Adelaide. They'll be rocking their side from the late 90s, early 2000s. And I agree with Nick D. Collingwood fair 246. Melbourne should have been in the finals this year, not the Western Bulldogs. Because, well, the Bulldogs looked a bit flat in the elimination final against the Saints for most of the game. Saints managed to hang on by just a kick. coaching this Port Adelaide side will be Mark Williams. And his director will be John Cale. Richmond. They are going to be rocking the side. They have been playing since 2017. And the man to lead the charge will obviously be Damien Hardwick. The Tigers, well, they're going to be, well, they could stand a chance to make the 8. And there's the Saints of 2009. Well, their 2009 team on the Ross line, they failed to win grand finals. In 2009, they lost to Geelong by 12 points. 2010. They came so close to beating Collingwood in the first grand final of the year. But turned out it was a draw. And then they were flat in the replay 7 days later, as Collingwood won their first premiership, winning by, well, nearly 10 goals, with Scott Pendlebury winning to Norm Smith. And I agree, the Port Adelaide side should have faced Richmond in the finals first week, but not instead of Geelong, because Geelong should have played the Brisbane Lions or probably the Magpies. I reckon Geelong should have faced Brisbane in the first final, and I don't think they would have stood a chance against the Lions at the Gabba, because Brisbane have got a home ground advantage. And coaching the Saints team in the 2009 Saints team will be Alan Jeans. Well, the reason why I didn't go with Ross Lyon, because Ross Lyon's coaching the Dockers. And I had to choose the next best pick for the Saints, and that was their only premiership coach, Alan Jeans. He was their premiership coach in 1966, helping the Saints beat Collingwood in the grand final by a point. That was the only time the Saints have tasted glory. I couldn't find a 1966 team on the Fan Hub, and I did the next best thing and found a 2009 team. They had won the minor premiership with 20 games, and my tips for the finals this week, I reckon Collingwood will beat the Cats, and I reckon the Tigers might just get up against the Saints. And anyway, let's go to the Sydney team. I couldn't find their 2005 team on this. I found the next best thing. I found their 2012 team. They're going to be coached by Paul Roos. With his assistant being Johnny Longmire. Then you got the West Coast Eagles from the early 90s all the way to the present day. They're going to be coached by the one and only Mick Malthouse. I was going to pick him as Collingwood coach, but can't overlook Jock McHale. Jock McHale, he has won so many premierships as Collingwood coach. He was part of that 4P team in the 20s. Won it all against the West Coast Eagles. They're mainly the West Coast Eagles because of a lot of the drugs they've been taking over the years. Especially to most of their Western Australian-based players. They were very geared up during the day. They even got some 2006 players on the team. They were very drugged up, along with some of the 1994 players and some of their 2018 players as well. And then you got the Bulldogs. Well, for this Bulldogs team, I'm gonna have to bring in Teddy Whitten to be the coach. The Bulldogs for this one, they'll be coached by probably one of their best players, who was also one of their best coaches, Mr. E.J. Whitten. He was the heart and soul of the Bulldogs over the years. Before he died in 1995, he fought to the end with it. He fought to the end with his battle with cancer, and unfortunately he lost his life at the age of 62. He will be remembered as the heart and soul of both Footscray and Victoria in State of Origin football. He was instrumental in their wins against the South Australians in past Origin games. And they are your teams, and there's the fixtures. Nick D, Collingwood 246. The Collingwood team are going to be playing the Western Bulldogs first up in the scenario. That's their up against their team they've been having since for most of the 2000s. Round 2, they got the Tigers at the MCG. This will be a good matchup. Dustin Martin versus Prime Dane Swan. Trent Cotchin versus Nathan Buckley. That should be a really good matchup. Also you got, well, Jack Rewalt versus Peter Dacos. That's going to be another good matchup. The Human Meatball against Gavin Brown. Round 3. They got this one's going to be a tough one for Collingwood. They got the Hawks. That one's going to be tough for Jock McHale's Magpies. They got Clarko's Hawks. Round 4. Well, they got the Free Pete Brisbane Lions. Oh man, that might be a good Fab 4 matchup. Buckley, Swan, Brown, and Pendlebury versus Voss, Black, Akamanis, and Neil. That'll be a really good matchup. Round 5. They tackle Port Adelaide. That one's going to be a pretty tough one. Round 6. The Magpies take on the 2000 Bombers, coached by Kevin Sheedy. Man, this is going to be this one's going to be another showdown between Buckley and Hurd. Nick D, Collingwood 246. I reckon Buckley will win that match up against James Hurd in round 6. 1 week later, they got St Kilda, the rematch of the 2010 decider at the this one's at the MCG. Same venue where they won the 2010 title at. I reckon they should play the 2010 team that week against the Saints. Round 8. They got GWS. Round 9. The Magpies have got Carlton. Oh man, this is going to bring back some memories. A classic Collingwood-Carlton rivalry. The Magpies, they have won 15 premierships, and the Blues have won 16 premierships. Round 10. Ooh. Travis Cloak up against Wayne Carey. That'll be a matchup to look forward to. Prime Travis Cloak. Well, when he was contending for the Coleman medal. against King Carey, the man who was contending for a Brownlow medal a few times. Round 11. Oh, they got the West Coast Eagles in round 11 at the MCG. Saints of Portland are not going to be playing each other in China because of the coronavirus pandemic, which is happening in the world. Round 12. The Pies tackle Melbourne at the MCG. 13th round. By 14th round, they got Sydney Swans. And anyway, just scroll through the rest of the fixtures. No teams have played yet. Well, we will all start tomorrow for the quarters. Might be going 3.5 minute quarters for this one. And I'm going to make this in veteran mode. And that will just about do it with today's broadcast. We'll see you all tomorrow for the first episode, for the first game of the all-time season.